I arrive at my parents' house in Eugene 15 minutes early, just as I've done for every family gathering since I was old enough to drive myself. Mom prefers punctuality, which in her world means arriving early enough to be criticized before the main event begins. The front door is unlocked. Of course it is my mother, Judith Wynne, would never risk having a guest ring the doorbell and interrupt her pre-event perfection ritual. Aurora? Is that you? 100 Mesidi, Mom's voice carries from the dining room, pitched with that familiar tone of expectation. Not quite warm, not quite cold. Just waiting to see if I'll disappoint her. Yes, it's me. I adjust the collar of my blue blouse chosen specifically to avoid commentary on my figure and follow her voice. The dining room gleams with the precise arrangement that defines my mother's aesthetic. Crystal glasses catching sunlight from the bay window, polished silver flatware aligned with mathematical precision. Mom stands over the table, adjusting a fork that appears perfectly placed to my eyes. You're early, she says, not looking up. Her fingers nudge the fork perhaps a millimeter to the left. Piper and Grant aren't here yet. I thought you might need help. Mom finally glances up, her eyes performing their habitual sweep of my appearance. I feel the familiar tightening in my chest as her gaze lingers on my midsection. You could have worn the green blouse I bought you for Christmas, she says. It's more slimming. Dad James, though everyone calls him Jame, emerges from his study, eyes fixed on his phone. Is that Aurora? He glances up briefly, offers a distracted smile. Hey, kiddo. Before I can respond, the front door bursts open. We're here! Piper's voice sings through the house, followed by the clatter of heels on hardwood. My sister appears in the doorway, radiant in a cream-colored dress that emphasizes her slender frame. Behind her stands Grant Miller, tall and handsome in a way that belongs on finance magazine covers. Mom abandons her place-setting adjustments and rushes to embrace Piper. Oh, darling, let me see you. I take a small step back, watching the performance. Piper twirls, laughing. Grant stands awkwardly to the side, catching my eye with a small, sympathetic smile. Grant, you look so handsome. Mom gushes, finally acknowledging him. Come, sit down, everyone. Lunch is almost ready. We settle around the table, Dad finally pocketing his phone as Mom brings out a roasted chicken that looks like it belongs in a cooking magazine. The conversation flows easily between Piper and our parents, her marketing job, Grant's family, their new apartment in Portland. I answer questions when directly addressed, smiling at appropriate moments. Halfway through the meal, Piper sets down her fork with theatrical precision. Actually, we have an announcement. Mom freezes, eyes widening with anticipation. Grant and I. Piper extends her left hand, revealing a diamond that catches the light. We're engaged! The dining room erupts. Mom actually squeals a sound I've never heard from her before. Dad looks up from his phone, genuinely surprised and pleased. Well, I'll be damned. Congratulations. Grant beams, explaining how he proposed during their weekend in Seattle. Mom peppers them with questions about the wedding date, the venue, the dress. I lift my wine glass. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you both. Piper accepts my words with a quick nod before turning back to Mom. I take a sip of wine, watching them over the rim of my glass. 3 years away in Seattle hasn't changed the family dynamic. I'm still the orbital body, revolving around the gravitational center that is Piper. June wedding, Piper announces. 6 months to plan everything. That's soon, I observe. When it's right, why wait? Piper says, her fingers intertwined with Grant's. We've already picked the wedding party. Grant's brother was the best man, of course. And she turns to me, a familiar smile spreading across her face. I recognize it immediately, the smile that preceded countless childhood betrayals. Aurora, you'll be my bridesmaid. I feel a flutter of surprise and suspicious warmth. Really? I'd love. But, Piper continues, her voice dropping to a stage whisper that everyone at the table can hear. You need to lose at least 30 pounds. I don't want people saying the bride has a sister, bigger than the wedding dress itself. The dining room goes silent. My face flushes hot with shame and anger, wine glass frozen halfway to my lips. Everyone's eyes turn to me, waiting. Judith nods in agreement. You should get started. 6 months is plenty of time to lose the weight and, who knows, maybe find someone. I can't speak. The familiar knot of humiliation tightens in my throat. Dad starts to say something. Now, I don't think. Mom cuts him off with a sharp look, and he retreats back to his phone. My mind flashes to a memory 16 years old, standing in this same dining room, clutching my academic award certificate. Dad looked up from his phone, beginning to congratulate me. Mom interrupted. That's great, but it would be even better if you lost 20 pounds. Piper's voice echoing later. My fat bookworm sister. My parents laughed it off. That's just how close sisters tease each other. Back in the present, Grant shifts uncomfortably in his chair. Piper wears her triumphant smile. Mom's expression mirrors her approval, and Dad studies his phone with sudden fascination. I force my lips to curve upward, ignoring the burning behind my eyes. I'll consider it. Don't just consider it, Piper says. You need to commit. This is my wedding. I take another sip of wine to avoid responding, making a silent vow to myself. The taste is bitter now. Maybe it's time to decide what I want. The conversation moves on, but I remain quiet through dessert. When I finally drive away from my parents' house, the tears come. Hot, angry drops that blur the familiar streets of Eugene. For a moment, I consider calling Piper to decline the bridesmaid role. But as I merge onto the highway towards Seattle, a different thought forms. I glance at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My Seattle life awaits my career achievements, my independence, a life I've built without their approval. What if I did this transformation my way, not for their validation, but for myself? I wipe the tears from my face and press the accelerator. Later that night, I unlock the door to my Seattle apartment and drop my weekend bag in the entryway. The familiar space welcomes me back: clean lines, minimalist furniture, and shelves lined with economics texts and finance journals. My career awards stand in a neat row on the bookshelf, gleaming quietly in the afternoon light. Home, I whisper to the empty room. After the Eugene disaster, the solitude feels like a shield. I kick off my shoes and sink onto the couch, exhaling the breath I've been holding since leaving my parents' house. 30 pounds. My sister's demand echoes in my head like a taunt. I grab my laptop and open a folder labeled Family Photos. Why I keep these digital reminders of disappointment, I've never fully understood. The most recent album is from Christmas 3 years ago, the last time I'd visited before this weekend. My finger hovers over the trackpad as I scan through the images. A pattern emerges that I've never consciously noted before. In every group photo, I stand behind Piper. Sometimes it's subtle, me shifted slightly back, while she leans forward. In others, it's blatant, me positioned directly behind her, partially obscured. What the hell? I mutter, clicking through more photos. It's not just the positioning. My mother's voice fills my head as I study each image. Aurora, honey, stand back a bit. Piper's dress needs to be seen. Aurora, maybe move to the side, you're blocking the light. Aurora, let's have you behind your sister for this one. I close the laptop and walk to my bedroom, pulling open the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside sits a leather-bound journal from high school, its pages filled with teenage angst and family frustrations. I flip it open to a random entry. The 12th of May 2013. Mom called me into her room today to discuss my prom dress. She suggested I try losing 15 pounds before prom so the dress would hang better. When I pointed out prom is in 3 weeks, she said I could do a liquid diet. Piper walked in wearing my sweater that Mom said made me look puffy last month. Mom told her she looked beautiful in it. I flip forward several months. The 30th of September 2013, first month of college done, called home excited about acing my econ midterm. Mom asked if I'd lost the freshman 15 yet or gained it. I changed the subject when I brought up the test again. The pattern repeats through college and beyond, a cycle of seeking approval, followed by criticism about my appearance, followed by withdrawal. Each time, I'd eventually convince myself things would be different. Each time they weren't. It wasn't normal, I say aloud, the realization settling like a stone in my stomach. It was toxic. I pace the apartment, energy surging through me. My family isn't just occasionally insensitive, they're systematic in their undermining. The weight comments aren't casual observations. They're weapons. Judith Wynn, my mother, the perfect image curator who treats her daughters like living dolls. Beautiful Piper, who's learned to shine by ensuring I remain in shadow. And Dad James Wynn, who buries himself in his small business and his phone, rather than stand up to either of them. And me, the designated disappointment, the shadow necessary for Piper's light. 6 months until the wedding. 6 months to lose 30 pounds or face another public humiliation. 6 months that could permanently damage my health if I crash diet as they expect. I stand in front of my bathroom mirror, really looking at myself. Not through my mother's critical eyes or Piper's competitive gaze, but my own. The woman staring back isn't the failure my family sees. She's built a life, a career, a home. She's accomplished, she's intelligent, she deserves better than crash diets and conditional acceptance. I open my laptop again and begin researching. Not fad diets or dangerous weight loss pills, but legitimate information about healthy, sustainable weight management. Articles written by nutritionists, not influencers. Scientific studies, not testimonials. 3 hours later, I look up from my research spiral with startling clarity. This isn't about a wedding, I tell my reflection. It's about me. The next morning, I made 2 calls. The first to a doctor for a physical, the second to Lydia Price, a personal trainer whose card I've had on my refrigerator for months. I'd like to start training, I tell her, but not for weight loss. I mean, that's part of it, but I want to be stronger, healthier, more confident. Those are excellent goals, Lydia says, her voice warm with approval. When would you like to start? Yesterday, I answered without hesitation. That afternoon, I created a vision board, not with images of skinny models or sample-size dresses, but pictures representing strength, health, and independence. I add quotes about personal power and self-respect. Not a single reference to the wedding appears on the board. At the bank, I open a separate savings account, labeled Health Investment, and transfer funds from my main account. This isn't about a bridesmaid dress. This is about reclaiming my life. My phone buzzes with a text from Piper. Mom found the perfect bridesmaid dress. Size 8. TikTok. I silence the phone without responding and pull out a notebook. On the first page, I write, Transformation Journal, and the date. This journey will be documented, but privately. My progress isn't for their consumption. Over the next few weeks, a routine forms. Mornings with Lydia, learning to appreciate what my body can do, rather than criticize how it looks. Lunch with colleagues who notice and comment on my new energy, not my size. Evenings researching nutrition and joining online support groups focused on healthy transformations. Your form is improving? Lydia tells me after our 20th session, her approval genuine rather than conditional. You've added 10 pounds to your lift since we started. It feels good, I admit, surprised to find I mean it. By the 1-month mark, I've lost 8 pounds, not through starvation, but through consistent, sustainable changes. My clothes fit differently. I sleep better. The face in the mirror looks more determined. That night, my mother called. Aurora? Have you started the diet yet? How much have you lost? Her voice has the familiar edge of impatience. I've put a deposit down on a bridesmaid dress. Size 6. Don't disappoint me. I look at my transformation journal, at the goals I've set for myself, at the vision board that has nothing to do with her approval. I'm working on it, Mom. I say, my voice steadier than she deserves. You need to hurry, she says. I just put a deposit on a smaller bridesmaid dress for you. Don't disappoint me. After she hangs up, I add her words to my journal. Evidence of a lifetime of conditional love. Fuel for the journey ahead. I won't disappoint myself. I promise my reflection. Not this time. 3 months into my transformation, the scale mocks me. The same number stares back for the 10th consecutive morning. 22 pounds lost. Not 23. Not 24. Certainly not the 30 pounds, Piper demanded. I've hit the dreaded plateau. My phone buzzes. Mom. Again. The 3rd call this week, and it's only Wednesday. I let it go to voicemail, knowing exactly what awaits me there, another progress report demand disguised as motherly concern. 10 minutes later, the notification arrives. I press play, setting my phone on the bathroom counter as I brush my teeth. Aurora, it's your mother. As if I wouldn't recognize the voice that's critiqued me since childhood. I need to know how the weight loss is progressing. Piper and I found the most exquisite bridesmaid dresses yesterday, but they run small. A pause. Very small. Call me back with your current measurements. I spit toothpaste into the sink harder than necessary, watching it splatter against the white porcelain. The message continues. Your sister sent some photos. I'm forwarding them now. My phone pings with incoming images. I swipe through them, a parade of satin nightmares designed for women half my current size. Each one features a cinched waist, exposed shoulders, or both. Perfect for Piper's slender bridesmaids. A calculated humiliation for me. Another text arrives, this one directly from Piper. Mom showed you the dresses? Remember, only 3 months left. Motivation. Sisterly love. I set my phone down before I throw it across the bathroom. Passive-aggressive hashtags Piper's specialty. The final blow arrives in the afternoon mail, a countdown calendar to the big reveal, with my mother's elegant handwriting noting Aurora's deadline in red ink. 3 months until the wedding. I grab my car keys and drive to the nearest fast food place. Inside my apartment, I spread my rebellion across the coffee table. Large pizza, side of fries, chocolate shake. The scent of grease and sugar fills the living room, a middle finger to months of protein shakes in measured portions. One slice halfway to my mouth, I catch sight of my running shoes by the door. The blue and gray Nikes I bought when I started this journey, they're scuffed now, the once bright laces dulled by sweat and effort. 22 pounds. Not for nothing. I set the pizza down. Stare at it. Stare at the shoes. They aren't doing this for me, I whisper to my empty apartment. The realization spreads through me like a fever breaking. I'm doing this for me. The pizza goes into the garbage, slice by untouched slice. The fries follow. I pour the shake down the drain, watching the brown liquid disappear. 10 minutes later, I'm running through the local park instead of my usual gym routine. The evening air smells of cut grass and freedom. Each stride carries me further from Piper's hashtags and Mom's deadlines. I run until my lungs burn, until sweat plasters my shirt to my back, until my thoughts quiet to a single mantra. Mine. This journey is mine. The next evening, my phone lights up with a video call request. Mom and Piper. I consider ignoring it, but a new resolve steadies my finger as I press accept. Their faces appear, side by side on my screen. Mom in her immaculate living room, Piper presumably at her apartment in Portland. Finally, Mom says instead of hello. Her eyes narrow, taking in my surroundings. That wall color makes your apartment look smaller than it already is. You should have gone with eggshell, not that dreary gray. Thanks for the design tip, I say, keeping my voice neutral. Piper leans closer to her camera. So, how much have you lost now? Mom says the dress shop needs final measurements in 2 weeks. I'm making progress, I say. Numbers, Aurora. Mom's voice sharpens. We need specifics. Step on your scale right now, so we can see. The old Aurora would have complied, would have carried her phone to the bathroom, and suffered the humiliation of a public weigh-in. Instead, I shake my head. My transformation is private until the wedding. Silence. Mom's mouth opens, then closes. Piper's eyebrows shoot up. That's not how this works, Mom finally says. We need to know. You'll see at the wedding, I repeat. Not before. Piper's face flushes. It's my wedding, Aurora. If you can't meet the requirements, then what? The question hangs between us. You'll find another bridesmaid? Someone who fits your aesthetic better? Go ahead. More silence. I've never spoken to them this way before, calm, direct, without apology. We're just concerned, Mom tries, switching tactics. This is a health issue. No, it's a control issue, I say. And I'm taking back control. I'll see you both at the wedding. I end the call before they can respond. The next morning at the gym, Lydia notices the change immediately. Something's different, she says, adjusting my form during a set of deadlifts. You're lifting with purpose today. I had a revelation last night, I told her between reps. This whole weight loss thing, it was never about fitting into a bridesmaid dress. It's about fitting into my own skin. She nods, a slow smile spreading across her face. About time you figured that out. Their toxic expectations were weighing you down more than any extra pounds. That afternoon, my coworkers invited me to happy hour, the third invitation I've received this month. Before, I declined, too focused on calories and macros. This time, I say yes. We laugh over mocktails while they tell stories about their families. My brother once told me I'd never make a regional manager, says Tanner from accounting, said I was too soft for corporate. Last Christmas, I handed him my business card with my new title. The table erupts in laughter. I share my sister's bridesmaid ultimatum, surprised at how easily the story flows when framed as absurdity rather than shame. Families, says Emma, raising her glass. Can't live with them, can't exchange them for store credit. 2 weeks later, I stand in my bathroom, electric clippers in hand. Brown hair falls into the sink as I transform my appearance on my terms. When I finish, I apply ash blonde dye to the short crop remaining. The woman in the mirror looks bold, unapologetic. Mine. My new wardrobe follows clothes that celebrate strength, rather than apologize for existing. Dark jeans that show off newly muscled legs. Fitted blazers that accentuate shoulders sculpted by months of pull-ups and presses. The scale becomes an afterthought. I check it occasionally, noting the numbers with clinical detachment rather than emotional investment. When I hit 30 pounds lost, I feel only mild satisfaction. The true victory comes 3 weeks later when I deadlift my body weight for the first time. You realize you've surpassed their demand? Lydia says during our session. 35 pounds down, but that's not what matters, is it? I shake my head, catching my reflection in the gym mirror. What matters is that I'm carrying my weight differently now. The physical pounds, yes, but also the emotional burden. Their expectations don't crush me anymore. Tears surprise me, welling up without warning. I've been carrying their expectations longer than this weight. Lydia squeezes my shoulder and hands me a towel. Keep those tears. You've earned them. That night, I created a folder on my laptop labeled Evidence. Into it goes the before photo from months ago, standing awkward and apologetic in my Seattle apartment. Next to it, I placed today's progress photo shoulders back, chin up, eyes straight. The physical transformation is obvious, but the change in posture tells the real story. I add screenshots of Piper's passive-aggressive texts, transcripts of Mom's voicemails, journal entries documenting years of weight-related comments, not for vengeance but for clarity. A record of the journey from their vision to mine. 4 weeks before the wedding, the scale confirms what my clothes already told me, 48 pounds lost total. My phone rings with Mom's weekly check-in. The family lunch is in 2 weeks, she announces without preamble. We need to see if you've made enough progress for the wedding party. I run my hand through my ash blonde hair, shorter now and styled in a way Mom would never approve. I'll be there. Don't disappoint us, Aurora. I won't be disappointing anyone, I say, my voice steady, especially not myself. I hang up and catch my reflection in the window. The woman looking back at me bears little resemblance to the one who received Piper's ultimatum 6 months ago. A smile spreads across my face as I whisper to the empty room. They have no idea who's coming to dinner. At the family dinner, the black heels make a different sound against the pavement, sharper, more assertive. I pause at the edge of my parents' driveway, taking one final breath before the performance begins. 6 months of preparation for this moment. I check my reflection in the car window, ash blonde hair catching sunlight, fitted navy dress accentuating the curves that remain while highlighting those that have disappeared. 48 pounds gone, replaced by something weightier: resolve. I've timed my arrival deliberately. 10 minutes after the stated lunch hour guarantees everyone will be there, settled and waiting. The perfect audience for what comes next. My heart pounds against my ribs as I approach the front door. Not from fear, from anticipation. I press the doorbell instead of walking in unannounced. A small rebellion, but it starts the script on my terms. The door swings open to reveal my father, phone clutched in his hand as usual. His eyes widened, mouth forming a perfect O of surprise. Aurora? James stammers, phone forgotten in his hand. Is that you? I smile, stepping past him into the foyer. Who else would it be, Dad? The dining room falls silent as I enter. The tableau is exactly as I pictured it. Mother at the head of the table, Piper beside her, Grant across from my empty chair. Their expressions shift in sequence: shock, disbelief, recalibration. Wow, Aurora. Grant breaks the silence, his eyes moving appreciatively over my transformation. You look amazing. Piper's face tightens, her smile brittle. You look different. Her eyes narrow with calculation. Did you get surgery? I hang my purse on the back of my chair, taking my time before responding. Every movement is deliberate, unhurried. I've rehearsed this moment with Lydia a dozen times. No, I say finally, meeting her gaze. I just tried loving myself. It feels great. Mother recovers quickly, her face rearranging into familiar disapproval. Your hair? She says, reaching across to touch a strand of ash blonde. You should dye it back to brown. Piper has always been the blonde daughter in this family. I feel rather than see Grant's surprise at Mother's comment. He glances between Piper and me, something new registering in his expression. I like it, Dad offers, smiling at me. You look healthy, kiddo. Mother's sharp glance silences him immediately. He retreats behind his phone, the momentary alliance broken. Thank you, I say to him anyway, keeping my voice light. I notice Piper's knuckles whitening around her water glass as Grant continues looking in my direction. For the first time, I see the jealousy naked on her face, not hidden behind teasing or wrapped in concern about my health, just raw envy. The realization settles into my bones. They don't know how to celebrate me. My transformation threatens something fundamental about our family's balance. I could have lost 100 pounds, achieved world peace, and cured cancer, and Mother would still find fault. Piper would still see only competition. I take a sip of water, smiling behind the glass. Each criticism now strengthens rather than diminishes me. The dress is too tight, Mother says, serving roasted chicken onto plates with surgical precision. It emphasizes your problem areas. Your hair is going to clash with the bridesmaid dresses, Piper adds. We chose coral pink. It's going to look ridiculous with that blonde. I butter a roll, watching them escalate their critique in tandem, a well-practiced duet. The more they talk, the smaller they become. You're deliberately trying to steal the spotlight, Piper finally accuses, abandoning subtlety entirely. This is my wedding year. Dad clears his throat. Now, Pipes. She shows up looking like this 2 weeks before my final fittings? When will all our relatives be comparing us? Piper's voice rises. That's not a coincidence. Mother nods in agreement. Aurora has always been competitive with you. Dad glances at Mother, then at Piper, before turning back to his phone. That's right, he mumbles. Don't try to outshine the bride. The family lunch spirals into familiar territory, only the subject matter has changed. Instead of my weight, they criticize my success at losing it. Instead of my appearance, they attack my improved one. Grant watches this performance with increasing discomfort, his eyes meeting mine occasionally with something like apology. Two cousins who arrived late shift awkwardly in their seats. Aunt Martha stares fixedly at her plate. My phone vibrates in my purse. Discreetly, I check the screen beneath the table. Lydia's message glows up at me. Remember, your worth isn't defined by their approval. 3 other friends have sent similar encouragement. Right on schedule. I straighten my shoulders, the months of preparation steadying me. The mantra Lydia and I practiced echoes in my head. Your value exists independent of their ability to see it. You know, Piper says, voice dripping with false sweetness. I've always read that dramatic weight loss ages people. You look at least 30 now. Something inside me shifts. Not anger, clarity. I set my wine glass down deliberately, the sound drawing everyone's attention. Mom, I say calmly, meeting her eyes. My hair is my choice, just like it's always been your choice to make Piper the center of everything. I've learned to love myself. Maybe you should try it sometime. Mother's mouth opens, but no sound emerges. I turn to my father. Dad, I'm just living my life. If me getting better outshines someone else, that's their problem, not mine. His eyes dart away from mine, but not before I catch a flicker of something recognition, perhaps even pride, quickly extinguished. Finally, I face my sister. You're right, I lost 48 pounds. And you know what? The heaviest weight I dropped was this family's toxic expectations. The silence that follows feels different from the shock of my entrance. This silence has substance. Mother's face has gone pale, her fingers frozen around her fork. Father looks conflicted, eyes moving between his wife and me as though seeing a chess match with a new perspective. Piper's careful mask slips, revealing the insecurity beneath her perfect facade. Grant watches her with thoughtful reassessment, as though seeing her clearly for the first time. I pick up my fork and take a bite of chicken, suddenly ravenous. The taste is better than I remember. 3 days before the wedding, my phone buzzed for the 15th time today. Mother's name flashes on the screen, joining the growing collection of missed calls. I silence it and place it face down on my kitchen counter. Aurora, please, reads her latest text message. This is about family unity. Piper is devastated you're considering not being there. I shake my head, remembering the confrontation a week ago. Their shocked faces when I'd walked into that dining room transformed not just physically but mentally. The way Piper's eyes had narrowed when Grant couldn't stop staring, Mother's immediate pivot to criticism of my hair color, the landline rings Dad's strategy when I don't answer cell calls. His voicemail arrives minutes later. Hey kiddo, look, I know things got intense, but it's Piper's wedding. Family is family, right? Call your mother. She's worried sick. Family is family. The mantra that excused 1,000 cuts over the years. My laptop sits open to my email. 3 new messages from extended family members I barely know. Aunt Caroline, Uncle Robert, and Cousin Jessica, all with variations of the same message. Think about what you're doing to your sister. As if I'm the one who demanded physical transformation as a condition of inclusion. I open Piper's message sent at 3 a.m. If you're coming to my wedding, you will dye your hair back to brown. I've always been the blonde win. Don't try to confuse people or steal attention. The familiar tightness forms in my chest. Old instincts whisper to apologize, to comply, to keep peace. 48 pounds gone, yet the weight of their expectations still presses down. My fingers hover over the keyboard, composing a conciliatory response. Maybe I could dye my hair back, just for the day. Maybe I could smile through their backhanded compliments, deflect Piper's jealousy, endure Mother's attempts to fix me, just one more time, for family peace. I glance at the framed photo on my desk, me at Cathedral Rock in Sedona, Arizona, taken during a business conference last year. The woman in that photo stands tall, arms outstretched toward red rock formations. Before the weight loss, before the confrontation, but something in her eyes already knew freedom was possible. I pick up my phone and call Lydia. They're all contacting me. I say when she answers. The wedding's in 3 days and they've enlisted the entire extended family. My mother says I'm destroying the family by considering not going. Lydia's voice is calm. And what do you think? I pause, staring at the reflection of my ash blonde hair in the window. I think I'm having a moment of weakness, old habits pulling me back. What would it mean if you went? She asks. The question lands with surprising force. What would it mean? Not just enduring a day of criticism, but signaling that their behavior is acceptable. That I can be controlled through guilt and obligation. That transformation is only acceptable on their terms. It would mean nothing has really changed, I whisper. And, if you don't go? I look again at the Sedona photo. It would mean everything has. After we hang up, I open my laptop and book a luxury suite at the Enchantment Resort in Sedona, $3,900 for the wedding weekend. The number appears on my screen, momentarily giving me pause. Nearly $4,000 to not attend my sister's wedding. I press confirm booking. Next, I open a blank email addressed to my mother, Piper, and my father. I will not be attending the wedding. This isn't about hair color or weight, or any of the superficial reasons you focused on. It's about respect, both yours for me, and mine for myself. I wish Piper and Grant happiness in their marriage. I'll be taking time for myself this weekend. Please don't contact me further about this decision as it's final. Aurora. No justifications, no arguments, just a boundary, clearly stated. I press send before I can second-guess myself. My phone immediately erupts with incoming calls. I power it off completely. 3 days later, I step out of my rental car at Enchantment Resort. The Sedona sun bathes red rock formations in golden light. The air smells of juniper and freedom. Welcome, Miss Wynne, says the receptionist. Your hiking guide will meet you tomorrow morning at 7 for your Cathedral Rock sunrise tour, followed by Devil's Bridge in the afternoon. In my suite, I unpack simple clothes-fitted jeans that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Lightweight hiking tops, comfortable boots, nothing fancy, nothing designed to hide or diminish. Just practical items that happen to showcase the strength I've built. That evening, I sat on my private balcony overlooking the stunning landscape. Today, Piper is having her rehearsal dinner. Tomorrow, she'll walk down the aisle. People will notice my absence. Questions will be asked. But for the first time, I'm not responsible for managing their discomfort. My first morning in Sedona dawns clear and perfect. I hike Cathedral Rock with my guide, reaching the saddle just as sunrise paints the surrounding formations in brilliant orange gold. I asked another hiker to take my photo standing tall, arms outstretched again, but in a body transformed by strength rather than diminished by criticism. Back at the resort, I posted the image to Instagram with a simple caption, "Rediscovering joy in Sedona." No mention of weddings, family, or weight loss, just me, celebrating myself. By afternoon, as I cross Devil's Bridge for another photo, my post has collected dozens of likes and comments. "You look amazing. What a transformation. That view is stunning, but you outshine it. Wait, aren't you supposed to be at your sister's wedding?" I don't respond to the last comment. Instead, I posted another photo, and another, each one capturing a moment of pure joy, of confidence, of self-celebration. Throughout the weekend, I hike, meditate, enjoy spa treatments, and eat nourishing food without a single thought of calories or judgment. With each passing hour, the weight of family obligation lifts further from my shoulders. On Piper's wedding day, I inform the front desk that I'll be unreachable. I place my phone in the room safe and spend the day completely disconnected from the outside world, from the ceremony happening hundreds of miles away, from the questions surely circulating among guests about the missing sister. My absence speaks volumes that my presence never could. Sunday morning, as I prepare to check out, I finally retrieve my phone and power it on. Notifications flood the screen, missed calls, texts, social media tags. As I settle my bill, the first email notification appears, from Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, who always stood slightly apart from family drama. Subject line, "What you missed." My finger hovers over the delete button. Do I want to know? Does it matter? I hesitate, then open it. "Aurora, you didn't come. It was an absolute disaster." Piper was irritable and argued with Grant right at the reception. People kept asking, "Where is the bride's gorgeous sister?" Your mother looked livid with embarrassment. I slipped deeper into the mineral-rich water, feeling nothing but profound relief. No guilt, no regret, just the warm certainty that I made the right choice. My victory wasn't in showing up, transformed, and watching their reactions. It was in reclaiming my worth, without needing their witness. The Arizona sun bathes Cathedral Rock in golden light visible through the spa's panoramic windows. I close my eyes, letting peace wash over me like the desert heat. For the first time in my life, I don't need validation from anyone wearing the Wynn family name. Back in my Seattle apartment a week later, I stand at the same window where I'd stood 6 months ago, clutching that first invitation to Piper's engagement celebration. Same view of the city skyline, completely different woman gazing at it. The space feels different now, not because I've changed the furniture, but because I've changed the energy I bring to it. My economics degree and finance awards still line the bookshelf, but they're no longer desperate attempts to prove my worth. They're simply accomplishments I'm proud of. I run my fingers across the journal on my desk, opening to a fresh page. "I didn't lose weight to be loved," I write. "I lost weight to escape the people who made me feel unlovable." The words flow with surprising ease. The heaviest burden I carried wasn't fat. It was hope, the exhausting hope that someday they would transform into the family I deserved. My phone buzzes with a text from Lydia. "Celebration dinner tonight? 7 o'clock at Canlis?" I smile, typing back, "Absolutely. I'm buying." Letting go of a toxic family doesn't mean being alone. These past months have taught me that. My friendship circle has expanded with people who value my intelligence, my humor, my thoughts, not just my appearance. My recent promotion came not from losing weight, but from the confidence that emerged when I stopped measuring myself through others' eyes. Lydia raises her glass across the candlelit table that evening. "To freedom," she says. "To boundaries," I counter, clinking my glass against hers. "And to telling toxic people to kiss your newly toned ass," she adds with a wink. We laugh, and I realize how rarely I laughed during family gatherings. How I'd trained myself to be smaller in every way, not just physically, but emotionally, verbally, energetically. Jennifer, from accounting, asked if you'd talk to her. Lydia mentions between bites of salmon. She's dealing with similar family stuff. Said you're the only person who might understand. Of course, I say without hesitation. The thought of transforming my pain into something useful feels right. Not retribution, not bitterness, just honest guidance from someone who's walked the path. 2 days later, I sat with Jennifer in the office courtyard. As she describes her mother's endless criticism, I recognize the familiar patterns. I don't tell her what to do, that's not my place. But I share what I've learned about boundaries without resentment, about loving yourself when others can't. That evening, I settled onto my balcony overlooking Seattle's twinkling skyline. My journal rests open beside me, a half-finished entry capturing today's small victories. The solitude feels peaceful, not lonely. My phone chimes with an Instagram notification. A distant cousin. You look amazing. What's your secret? I smile, typing thoughtfully. Learning that health starts with loving yourself enough to walk away from people who don't. After a moment's reflection, I post my own before and after photos. Not just physical transformation, though, that's evident, but the change in my eyes, my posture, my smile. Beneath it, I write, "The heaviest weight we carry isn't on our bodies, it's the expectations of those who can't celebrate our light." I add a question. If it were you, would you have gone to the wedding to show them your transformation? Or was leaving in silence, letting them stew in their own jealousy, the better move? Let me know in the comments. As responses begin flooding in, mostly from women with their own family stories, I feel connected to something larger than myself. This journey was never just about weight. It was about finding the courage to choose myself. And in that choice, I finally found peace.